Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Norwalk Public Library Board of Trustees on March 19th. In attendance, we have Mary Mann, Janie Williams, Patsy Brescia, Alex Knopp, and Cheryl Harris. Are there any public comments? No. Okay, so first on the agenda, we have the discussion of the charter revision, and hopefully a vote, this evening, to discuss what to do with it. Alex, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I didn't see anything prepared, so I prepared something tonight. I realize it's very late, but everybody knows these issues, and I sent it out shortly before this meeting. It has 3 points. It's a compromise draft. I don't like all of it, but I think it's the best we can do. And the 3 points are, well, why don't I just read it? Is that okay?
You want me to pull it up, Alex?
Sure.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I almost have it.
I mean, it was, yeah. Maybe you can go over the revisions from the last version that I sent around last,
Well, I'm not going to confuse things. These are the 3 points. First, that the mayor shall appoint the library director in consultation with the library board of directors from a list of not less than 3 candidates nominated by the board. Second point, the city library director shall report to and have such duties as are defined by the library board of trustees on matters of library policy and by the city mayor on matters of administration. And point number 3 just revises the current opportunity for the board to submit its budget to the Board of Estimate, and by including the Director of Community Services as one of the recipients of the advisory submission of a budget by the board, since his or her position was created after the city ordinance was adopted in terms of submission of a budget. So I would move those 3 points. Excuse me, as a compromise.
Alex, do you want to add grounds to number 2?
Well, where would that go? Because it's currently under the board by the ordinance.
The grounds is already?
Yes.
Okay, no, then no need to. I didn't know if you just wanted to stick it in just for clarification. And if we did, I guess it would go library policy and grounds or outdoor grounds. But
I mean, I think this is very good. I think it's similar to what we had, the 3 points we had before, with some minor changes, especially number 1. And it's a reflection. I mean, I think number 2 and 3 are very much a reflection of the way things currently are. And I think it's good to make sure that the charter reflects what currently happens.
I think in the one that we did earlier, it said that that you would prepare an annual budget in consultation with the library director.
Yeah, that's true. Because there was a second draft of this that I had put some other changes in. And I do think it's good to put that piece in.
Sure.
And just so that I think from a process point of view, the next charter revision meeting is on April 1st. I checked that out. And I think if we do decide to move this along, I think the right process based on my email with Tyler would be to send this to the to him who in the form of a letter, and then he would forward it on to his committee members, and then there would be public comments made at that April 1st charter revision committee. And I think, we do have the opinion from Tom Livingston saying that the Corporation Council and Steve Mednick, who's the charter revision, the lawyer for the charter revision committee, would not be in favor of this, but I think, I mean, my personal opinion is it's kind of our responsibility to look after the interest of the board and the role in these three things, and, and that it's very important that the board be a part of, especially in number one, in collaboration with the mayor of the hiring of the library director, since we're so close to the running of the library more than any other body. So that's just. Is there any other discussion? I mean, I know Alex made a motion, and I'll second it to move it.
I second it. I mean, I agree with it, but just to fix that, what Sherelle just said on the third bullet there, to make sure that's in there as well,
Sure. Yep.
with that revision.
Yep.
Okay,
And you don't want to add, even though I know it's already there, you don't want to add, the grounds to number 2, right?
Well, that's currently part of the library's
Mhm.
jurisdiction of the board.
Right.
So if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Patty, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I am going to abstain as past chairman of the Charter Revision Commission.
okay,
So as far as next steps, I will draft a letter and we'll run it by the board before sending it.
okay. Okay,
I will plan to make public comments on April 1st. And it would welcome the participation of any other member of this board to join in.
okay. Board estimate.
Okay, so Sherelle, so in terms of the walkthrough, Sherelle and I were thinking of the second week of April, the Saturday. So hold on, let me give you the
Well-
date right now. So Saturday, the 12th of April. And I'll send out an email for both libraries. Okay, so Sherelle, do you want to take it from here?
So first on the agenda would be the approval of the confidentiality policy. As we saw like 2 meetings ago, we still follow the state statutes, but we just added, just some protection because of the current climate with, people coming in to ask for records, that we cannot give out any information unless it's court ordered, signed by a judge.
Okay,
Can I move approval?
I second.
Janie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's unanimous.
Yep. And so, the next piece is, give me a second, I just want to share my screen. Basically is, giving our part-time staff raises. They haven't had raises in over 10 years. And basically, when we did it back in 2012, it was the library assistants and the library clerks, and not the librarians. They should have raises simply because they haven't had them in 10 years. We don't give them any sort of benefits as do some of our surrounding libraries. They do give part-time benefits, sorry, to part-timers. And also the minimum wage was raised in January, and that put the shelvers who put away the books, now our clerks are only roughly 65 cents away from what our shelvers who put away books make. So I just want to remind, which you all know because you're avid users of the library, but the library is the City of Norwalk's department that is open 7 days a week, and we're open between 7.5 and 10 hours a day, serving the public. So our budget is basically stretched over 7 days and not 5. And our citizens really rely on our basic services, like the computers, the Wi-Fi, and even borrowing, the Wi-Fi hotspots and our ebooks. And I had Cindy and Lori this morning, and thank you, give a shout out to both of them, Cindy Leahy and Lori Iflin. They gave me the percentage of the digital books borrowed versus the physical books borrowed. So from 2021, the digital books were 72% and the print 28%. Following year, 2021, 2022, 68%, and print was 32%. 2022, 23, 66% versus the print of 34%. 2023, 24 was 57% versus 43%. This year, though we're not, we're not finished with our fiscal year yet. The digital is at 37% and the print is at 63%. So it'll be interesting to see what that is by June. And, I mentioned that too, because, people do rely on these things. And we did ask for the increase in the budget for the book budget because like a physical book on average can cost us $15, while cost for the same book in digital format can cost 3 times as much. It can cost like $50. And so what ends up happening as Norwalk's citizens, the other citizens grow, the more people are using our ebook collection. And so that puts a really big damper on the budget, in addition to the waiting time, that people have to wait in order to get their digital download. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and I will now, any questions before I go on? Get back to the screen so I can share. So when I went before the BET, they basically asked what, our bottom line is for part-timers, for a part-time budget. So our shelvers now with the minimum wage increase are at $16.35. So they had roughly a 4.2% increase. Our custodians are at $17. The proposal would be to give them $20. And that's a 17.6 increase. Our library clerks are also at $17. The proposal would be to give them a $20 increase, so it would be the same 17.6 increase. And the market rate per Region 4 for Connecticut, based on the Connecticut Library Association's calculations, the market rate would be $18.64. Library assistants are currently making $19. Salary would be 23, an increase of 21.5. And the market rate for them is 22.97. The librarians are at 26.29. The recommended salary for them would be 34, percentage increase of 29.32%, and the market rate would be $34.02. And I do want to point out, but I'll pull it up. But what I'm looking for is Ferguson Library pays their library assistants who are not degreed more than we're paying our library assistants. So to increase our budget, to sustain and to make sure that, we're giving our public the best that we can give them, would be roughly $1,000 increase. Well, I know that won't happen the next year. Finance did, agree to speak with me and work with me for fiscal year 26-27. But I think I would like to start, sorry, I was looking for my backup. Give me 1 second.
You're pulling up something else now, Sherelle?
Yeah. Looking for my backup.
What's in the backup?
I just want to show you the market rate.
Okay, while you're doing that, Sherelle, I 100% support increases for our staff. My question would be, what do you need us to do?
Find the money. Basically what I think I'm going to have to do is just try to work that in our current budget. And I'd like to begin with our librarians. So we might not be able to get them up to, and I just can't believe it. I literally just had it. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, all right.
So I think, yeah, I'll speak for myself. I'm also very much in favor of making sure that our librarians are paid, the market rate for their services. It seems like they're, they haven't had a raise in many years. So it's just a question of when, right?
And so I'd like to, with your permission, obviously, I would like to begin. I think we can start with our librarians. So here's the benchmarking from the state of Connecticut Library Association. Norwalk is in Region 4.
Okay.
So this is where I got the market rate from here, where the highlight is. So as you can see, the librarians, in Region 6, the market average would be $34. But even in the other regions, you'll see, I guess the lowest would be 29. So the range is 29.82 to our area, which is 34.02.
And what are we paying them right now?
26, hold on, what is it? Let me go back.
26.29.
Yep, 26.29. So,
But to me, that looks like they definitely need a raise.
Yeah.
To
So,
be,
Uh,
I'm sorry, somebody else have something?
Yeah, well, I have my hand up, but okay, yeah. Obviously, I'm very much in support of this. It's really shocking to see where we fit. And whatever we can do, we really need to advocate with the anticipated growth in our community. And it's just, we have to make something happen here.
Okay.
I do have a question. When you gave us the difference between digital and print,
Yes, ma'am.
I I think what you're saying is the percentage of digital has gone down and books are going up over the last 3 or 4 years? Or did I misunderstand?
No, it is, books, they are going down, like COVID, when during COVID, they obviously,
Okay.
were
Well,
high. But they're higher than what we were pre-COVID. And,
okay,
but the cost is just
yes, yeah. But
crazy.
I'm surprised that the percentage was going down, but obviously the cost is very different. And
Mhm, mhm.
so
Then I wanted
I'd be happy to make a motion to support your recommendation.
I want you to see this too. This was, for a library assistant at 27.46. So, like if someone would argue the point that our market rate for our library assistants and our library clerks are around, like what we're paying now is around the market rate, but people need to keep in mind that they have not had cost of living increase or any raise for over 10 years.
Okay.
So, and I think you get better candidates, the more competitive we are. So I'm going to work with it, and mind you, our budget, our part-time budget was cut by 50,000, and I'm hoping that that will be restored. And then I will try to work. I won't be able to give everybody raises, but I'll try. Let's see. It just gives us the number that we're anticipating. We have open positions now that actually I think should have closed this week that we will be filling. But they did cut our budget by 50,000 that I'm hoping they will restore. And we obviously will not be able to do the ideal, but I do want to start with the librarians. I should be able to give the librarians raises, maybe not up to 34, but even if I can get them up to 31, and then when I work with finance and Lamont, of course, the following fiscal year, we can get it up to 34.
So are you saying we'll be able to do part of
I'm
it
gonna
this
try,
year?
yeah.
And
I'm
then,
gonna try, you have to give the librarians, if I can't give them full, at least to give them half. To try to get them up to at least $31 out of this budget.
Okay.
so is this something that we need to move or make a motion for?
Yes.
I think Patsy made a motion,
Yeah, I
so
already made the
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Yeah.
Would anyone like to second?
Yes, I'll second.
okay.
All in favor?
I
Any abstentions or vote nays?
Just reminded, the motion is to approve raises equal to half of the recommended salary column.
No, it wasn't
quite
half.
right.
No, it wasn't half.
Not
We
quite
never,
half.
No.
I would say if you want to just pinpoint it between $30 and $31.
Okay, so the motion was to
So
raise
just for the
part-time.
librarians you're talking about.
I think that's all we're gonna be able to afford.
And then you're gonna work on the others, next fiscal year, right?
Sure, and if I could do something, this year, even dollar increases for the others, I will. But I do want to concentrate on the librarians right now.
Cheryl, can I just ask, and
Sure.
trying to listen before the vote, is there any value in going half for the librarians each of the next 2 fiscal years and use some of the extra money for one of the other categories to go partially?
Okay, so here's the deal. The custodians and the library, I thought about that, but the custodians and the librarians, I'm sorry, the clerks, library clerks they're the same. And even, if I give them a dollar rate, I guess we could, but they would then just be $1 under the library assistants.
Well,
But-
couldn't you do, I mean, instead of giving everything to the librarians, I mean, since we don't have very much, to have a 2-year phase-in on the librarians and use for the assistants, for example. And I don't know whether or not the custodian salary level has made it so difficult for us to keep custodians. I know Otis just left. Do you think in order to get longevity from some of the custodians, that needs to be raised, given we always have a kind of a chronic shortage of custodians?
I think it could be, because we did, there was a gentleman who he interviewed who would have been phenomenal. But he was offered another position somewhere else. He did think about full-time, but when he learned the salary, he just, even though he considered it, he even asked us if, if he could do anything full-time, but the salary was just too low for him.
I think in terms of the needs of the library, the turnover of custodians and the shortage of custodial help is an important area to address. You know better than the rest of us the extent to which the salary level is a cause of that problem. But if it is, I would suggest then perhaps do the librarians at half and do some for the custodians so we can get those positions filled. I don't know. It's just, just as
I understand. Okay, I would honestly like to work on just because the custodians have been bumped up, but the librarians have not. So, if you can give me permission to work on both, on the custodians and the librarians, I think that would be great.
yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and just remember that it's like, next year we'll really get everyone up. And so, I think you're probably the best judge of where you need to attract the best people, so yeah, I mean, I that's just the way, I view it, so.
There's another aspect to it is opportunity with specific applicants that you never know who's going to leave for one reason or another and who steps up and be interested. So Sherelle really needs her latitude and her best judgment to make the call to get the help that she needs.
Okay.
So we've moved. I think that we voted to support you in those the raises for this year, and then moving forward, I think you've done a really good job at making the case, and hopefully 25, 26 will get us really in line with our peer institutions.
Well, it won't be 25, 26 because that's the budget that they're setting now.
Oh, right.
We would work,
26,
so I'm gonna
27.
try to work,
Sorry.
hopefully, the big ticket item would be if they can restore that 50,000. But
Yeah,
if they could restore that, and then I can work within, our current budget. But I do understand their process, they really, they need time, at least, I think they said 4 months to 6 months to really flesh everything out, but they did promise to work within the next budget. There may be some contingency, funds, so, yeah, so I would just like to see what I can do within this budget, hopefully with the restoration of the 50,000.
Okay.
sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, did everybody voted already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then just finally, Moina and I met with the parking authority, and Moina did bring up your concerns, Alex, about why do we have to pay, being a city agency, why do we have to pay for striping and things like that? So I think we left off, Moina, that we would be meeting with the parking authority and Jim Travers.
Yes, yeah.
So that's where we left off. So right now, we're still basically, trying to get the signage, to get the striping, the directional signage, in the lot that the city recently purchased at 3 Belden. Because, people still just don't understand which way to go in. And that was, a point that Ralph drove home quite a bit. Ralph Bloom, just for the record, that people don't know which way to go in and go out. And then we also talked about the fence removal, that would be paid for out of the rollover money. The fence removal addressing the egress issues. But then we talked about, I guess, a bigger point of redesigning, that parking lot, which may take a little bit more time.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you learn during this discussion, this the parking department charge off cost of striping and things to every other department? Or is it just us?
Hmm.
Yeah, if we're, we're the department of the city, so
I seem to
do
like,
they, I don't know how they do their budget, but I think we should ask, because if it's how they function and they charge every other department, the police department, the fire department for striping, then that makes sense. But if we're being the only ones being charged, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Mhm.
So can we ask that question if we don't?
we can ask that question. It seems like, the way that they were describing it is that, obviously the parking authority, uh, before COVID was managing our lot. It had, we had the gate, and all that. Now, then the gate stopped working, COVID happened, basically the parking authority was no longer, I don't know, managing the lot.
And then they had
Uh,
the issue, I guess, with Milligan and the lot. So basically, they were saying, I'm sorry, Moini, they were just saying
Yeah.
that somehow the ball got lost, or whatever contract or agreement was in place. Um,
And now with 3 Belden, I mean, obviously that's a very recent acquisition. And so it's really not, I mean, I think they've put up the signs, but there's no real management of that lot. So they're, we definitely put it on them and on us to kind of have this discussion about getting the parking authority back on board to manage our lots and,
he said he would, I guess he said, correct me if I'm wrong, that he would speak to Neil from Guardian regarding the 3 Belden to see what was going on with that, with 3 Belden.
Well, the other
Because-
issues that are a part of that are, uh, uh, we were never asked about whether we wanted to pay for the Eagles parking or not. I mean, I forget the cost of that. As a,
It's like,
Yeah, it
Right.
went down because of they're moving everything over. I know it was initially for the 30, it was 12,000
yeah,
600. And now I think where are we down to 17 because they're gonna move the Wall Street staging to some of those spots so that we can deal with the egress issue and the fence between the three Belden and one Belden parcels.
well, the point I wanted to make was that, again, that seems a parking expense for the city. I don't know why, so I hope that's included in your discussion in terms of
Yeah,
the
I think
parking
that's a good
authority.
point.
Yeah, it was simply assigned to us by Jessica when they negotiated without our knowledge or agreement, uh, the Eagles parking before they changed their mind and decided to go for the Milligan lot. And then second, the 3 Belden property is leased to 3 nonprofits who use that. It's the Makerspace nonprofit, it's the NAACP, and it is uh, one other nonprofit.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah,
Is
you're
it the
right.
chamber or the Hispanic,
Yes, Chamber of Commerce, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And those 3 entities pay rent to the city,
Okay.
yet they use the parking that we're paying for. So that should also be brought up, which is it'd be unfair for the city to kind of siphon off the revenue and charge us for the expense of maintaining parking. So I think those additional issues ought to be brought up.
but we're not paying for that parking now, and on 3 Belden, right? We're not, I mean, that's not.
I don't know. The chart that Sherelle shared with us last week about the capital budget shows the 3 Belden purchase coming under the library kind of capital budget, even though it was purchased with ARPA funds. And it
So
should,
that was not really, that was part of their ARPA.
right, that's what I just said.
So, yeah. So, but I
And
don't think that was part of the money that was allocated.
well, that was the acquisition of it.
Right.
Doesn't say anything about the maintenance of it.
Have line of the season is
And that's where, yeah, that does need to be clear is whether our
Right.
custodians are responsible for that lot or not.
Right. And then the other issue is, as we discussed last week, I know we didn't have a quorum, but the city has listed its $800,000 offer for the Milligan lot under the capital budget coming out of library funds.
That definitely is, yeah.
And as I mentioned, that amount will not be sufficient, I don't think, to meet whatever the court decides is the value of that lot. So these are issues about parking and acquisition that affect our operating budget because some of those funds, particularly about parking, come out of operating, not capital. So I'm concerned that we clarify, who's paying for what, and that they don't shovel all these. I mean, here we are talking about trying to increase funds for custodians, which is necessary, and we're paying for Eagles parking that I'm not sure we really need or should be liable for.
So it seems like a very important, like, next step is to make sure that, the parking authority is, apprised of all these issues and takes over the management and funding of our library lots. So we will work on that.
Yeah, and that was my original focus when I brought this up, because for instance, I don't know, where any parking from, does the parking authority manage, say, Cap Path to the beach? How does that money flow? So that would be a question of if it's different than us and they're not being charged and we are, then there's the argument there that we should never be charged for that.
All right, that's why we set up the parking
Yeah.
authority as a,
I know. I lived with it, Alex. I know. Yeah.
So let's just get back to the way things ought to be. So,
Or that, we need a full understanding of how the city functions with everybody else.
Got it. Okay, and
but in
then,
the meantime, we do have the rollover money for some of those, for at least the dealing of the
the
fence.
removal of the fence and the egress, but, you guys were also talking about redesigning that, and that's gonna take a lot longer than
Yeah.
removal
Yeah.
and the egress issue.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
So we'll
that's
get, we'll follow up with the parking, Cheryl and I, we can follow up with the parking, with Brian and Rocky about how to get, to really get the lots managed by the parking authority, what the next steps are there.
And then just one other thing, I believe, the public hearing for the, operating budget is on March 22nd. No, it can't
how
be
can
March.
that be? It's,
No, it's not March
It's the
22nd.
26th, I think,
Thank you.
today.
could I raise another issue if you're done, Cheryl?
Yes, please.
So somebody has posted online a complaint about the flag at the South Norwalk Library. And somebody shared, I'm not on Facebook, but somebody shared it with me and they said they had tried to get it fixed and nobody did anything. So they put it on Facebook to bring it to the public's attention so the board would notice it. So be that as it may, I would hope that somebody will replace a tattered flag with a new or better one.
Yep, we
at
have an
early
extra one.
convenience.
It was brought to my attention today, actually. So tomorrow, we've identified that well, actually we have two extra. We have one at Maine and one at Sono. So, when, Michael goes over tomorrow, he's going to replace it.
Good, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Second,
See you all next time. Thank you.
Night.
Bye.